What does it mean to stand in the presence of the holy? Can a single moment, shimmering with mystery, ignite a life uprooted by exile and turn the world's story on its head? As the desert wind stirs and the ancient hills give silent witness, the veil between earth and heaven thins, revealing a God who calls and a man who listens, trembling, on ground declared holy. Let us journey now to the lonely slopes of Horeb, the mountain of God, where dust hangs in golden rays and each stone remembers. Let us walk with Moses, a shepherd in exile, a man with a hidden history, as he encounters the living fire. In drawing near the words of Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 to 12, we step gently into a narrative older than memory, yet ever new. A tapestry woven of flame, humility, and the echoing holiness of encounter. The day dawns quietly on the Midianite wilderness. The sky is wide above, washed in colors that linger at sunrise, pinks and ochres melting one into another, pale blue unfolding above the ancient stones. Here, time itself moves differently, echoing the unhurried patience of sheep roaming the pastures. It is a place far removed from the courts of Egypt and their restless intrigue, a land where each footfall falls softly, absorbed by the silence. The man we meet is Moses, once a prince of Egypt, now a shepherd beneath foreign stars. The staff in his hand, rough-hewn and worn smooth by decades of touch, testifies to a life remade by consequence and hidden purpose. He has fled the wrath of Pharaoh after defending a Hebrew slave, taken refuge among the Midianites, and wed the daughter of Jethro, priest of Midian. 40 years, seasons shifting, hopes narrowing into the simple rhythms of survival. We find Moses at the western edge of the wilderness, tending to the flock entrusted to him. The sheep move before him, grazing among sun-bleached rocks. On the horizon rises Horeb, its windswept summit veiled in blue haze. To later generations, it is the mountain of God. Yet, on this morning, for Moses, it is simply a path, another day's wandering in pursuit of green pasture. But beneath the ordinary, the eternal lies in wait. It is here, amid the silence and the bleating of sheep, that the holy breaks through. Scripture records it plainly, yet with breathless wonder. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Moses turns aside, curiosity mingling with awe. The mystery beckons him nearer. The bush burns, yet leaves, twigs, and slender branches live unscorched. Why does the holy choose such a form? Not the thunder of Sinai, not the grandeur of star and cosmos, but a brittle desert shrub alive with flame yet untouched. The question lingers, suspended like the golden light. It is in this moment, with sandals pressing against yielding sand, that Moses becomes the first among mortals to stand upon ground explicitly declared holy in the unfolding record of Scripture. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he said, "Here I am." Consider the voice, not a thunderclap, not some cosmic proclamation, but a gentle calling born on fire. The repetition of the name, Moses, Moses. In the echoing cadence of biblical tradition, repetition conveys intimacy and urgency. Think of Abraham upon the mountain, Samuel in the tabernacle. Each time, it is the God who knows and calls. Do not come any closer, the voice warns, drawing a line of sacred boundary. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground. In this command, holiness is neither distant nor abstract. It is immediate, tender, and deeply personal. It is both invitation and instruction. Approach, but with reverence. The removal of sandals in ancient Near Eastern custom was more than practical. It was a sign of humility, a gesture of submission before one greater than oneself, before the mystery no man commands. In relinquishing shoes, Moses yields his claim to the dust. He confesses his unworthiness by the very act of bareness. Let us pause here, letting the stillness settle. For in this hush, the heart of mystery beats. Why is this ground, barren and unremarkable, now declared holy? It is not the geography that sanctifies, but the presence of the divine. The bush is not sacred by nature. It is God's nearness that transfigures the ordinary into the realm of otherness. Holiness, in the biblical sense, is the set-apartedness of God, the sheer difference, the shining wonder. Even so, the holy seeks to draw near. The encounter deepens. The voice is not merely a phenomenon, but a person. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. The ancient promises stir in the air, linking this moment to the unfolding covenant, binding present to ancestral past. Scripture says that Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. Let this detail rest upon us. The fear of the Lord, not terror, but a trembling awareness of the infinite. True awe arises not from threat, but from the overwhelming encounter with reality himself, the God who is not an idea, but a presence. God continues, his words as gentle as they are weighty. I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. Notice the verbs seen, heard, know. This, too, is the heart of holiness, not indifferent transcendence, but compassionate involvement. The God who burns in mystery also sees the numberless tears of slaves. I am come down to deliver them, to bring them out of that land unto a good and large land, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. The promise reverberates through the emptiness of the valley. Freedom, restoration, home. God reveals himself not only as holy, but as deliverer, keeper of oaths. Suddenly, like a thunderbolt rippling through serenity, the narrative pivots. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. We do well to imagine Moses in a tumult. For years, perhaps decades, he has lived as a fugitive suspect in Egypt, a stranger in Midian, resigned to obscurity. Can this man, flawed and exiled, truly be the instrument through whom God will move? There is a strengthening paradox at work. The one who is holy beyond comprehension, who dwells in unapproachable light, also chooses the uncertain, the unworthy as messenger. Moses' voice, when it comes, is marked by humility bordering on protest. Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? Behind these words lie years of old wounds and self-doubt, the voice of one who remembers failure, who has learned to see himself as less than the world once promised. But God's answer is swift, full of both rebuke and consolation. I will be with you. The holy calling is never about the worthiness of the called. It is about the sufficiency of the caller. The presence of God is the true qualification for any sacred task. Let us walk slowly through this text once more, pausing at threshold after threshold to see how holiness and divine calling are interwoven. The fire in the bush burns but does not consume. Why this paradox of flame? In the ancient world, fire is a symbol both of danger and of illumination, of energy and transformation. Throughout Scripture, the presence of God is often revealed in fire, a pillar guiding the Israelites by night, a consuming fire at Sinai, a tongue of flame at Pentecost. Yet here, the flame is wondrously restrained. This is no wildfire, chaotic and destructive, but a controlled, inexhaustible radiance. Is it possible that this vision speaks to God's self-sufficiency? The I am of the burning bush needs no fuel to remain ablaze, just as he needs nothing from human hands to be who he is. And yet he draws near, offering Moses not annihilation, but invitation. The holy, for all its danger, desires relationship. The ground becomes holy not to repel, but to beckon. Reflection lingers on the phrase, "Take off your sandals, for the place you are standing is holy ground." Why the insistence on removing shoes? Culturally, this was and remains a sign in the ancient Near East. In sacred spaces, temples, sanctuaries, homes, men and women came barefoot as a gesture of honor, acknowledging the owner's superiority. But in the context of Moses' world, there is more. The act expresses a deliberate vulnerability. To stand barefoot on stony earth is to feel everything, the heat, the pebbles, the thorns. It is a kind of undressing, an admission that nothing can shield us from the presence of the divine. Perhaps, too, it echoes the primal nakedness of Eden, humanity face to face with its creator, unclothed in pretense. In holiness, all illusions of independence dissolve, and so the divine name is given, swathed in mystery. In the verses that follow, when Moses fears the rejection of his own people and asks, "What shall I say to them who sent me?" God speaks the ineffable, "I am who I am." In Hebrew, Ayeh Asher Ayeh, an utterance so profound, so all-encompassing, that centuries could not exhaust its meaning. God is being itself, the one who is uncaused, unending. But even now, the encounter is not all certainty, no easy answers. Throughout scripture and tradition, the story is shrouded in unresolved questions. Why, for instance, does the angel of the Lord appear in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush? Is the angel here distinct from God himself, or is this a theophany, God's own presence, veiled and accessible for mortal eyes? The Hebrew word translated angel, malak, can mean simply messenger, leaving room for mystery. Some rabbinic commentators see in this encounter a pre-incarnate visitation. Others, an intermediary sent to shield fragile humanity from the direct brilliance of the divine. Christians, through centuries, have sometimes recognized in this messenger a foreshadowing of Christ, the Word made flesh. Yet the text is spare. It leaves interpretation open, and so we approach with reverence, not presumption. There is a still deeper layer here. The bush that burns but is not consumed. Some ancient Jewish midrashim suggest it symbolizes Israel herself, a flame with suffering, yet not destroyed in bondage. Others see it as an emblem of the indestructible presence of God among his people, the fire that purifies but does not annihilate. The centuries have not resolved this symbol, nor should they. In mystery, there is room for awe. Why does holiness demand, first of all, the recognition of unworthiness? When Moses returns, Centuries later, to Sinai and receives the law, the pattern repeats. The mountain shakes, the people quake in fear. Holiness is never tame. It is the thunder that precedes mercy, the storm that carves the path for peace. It is always approached, never possessed. And yet, the very one who is set apart, holy other, chooses to call, to draw near, to condescend. Consider the implication for divine calling. Moses was not seeking a vision that morning. He was, in every way, an unlikely prophet. His early zeal had led only to bloodshed and flight. His speech, by his own admission, was slow and hesitant. His history was one of rejection. Yet it is precisely to this man, far from centers of power, that God entrusts the redemption of an enslaved people. In this, we glimpse a pattern woven through all of sacred history. The holy call does not descend upon the accomplished, but the open-hearted, not the self-sufficient, but the one emptied by time and trial. The burning bush is not just a moment. It is a revelation of how God works, by grace, through mystery, with those who know their weakness. The text yields another layer of contemplation. Having heard the divine commission, Moses hesitates, overcome not by pride, but by inadequacy. "Who am I?" the words echo through ages, the confession of every soul called by God to a task that overshadows human confidence. The divine reply is for all time, "I will be with you." It is presence, not prowess, that equips the servant. There is an exquisite humility in this exchange. In every divine encounter, there is a confrontation, first with holiness, then with one's own insufficiency, and finally with the promise of accompaniment. The ground is holy, but only because God is here. What of us who read and listen, centuries distant in both geography and flesh? The sacred narrative beckons us to enter its vivid silence, to ask, where is holy ground in my own journey? How might we, like Moses, turn aside from routine and distraction to discover the burning presence amid our barrenness? Each detail, the fire, the voice, the command to remove sandals, presses a question into the heart of the faithful. Am I standing open and unguarded before the holy? Do I carry within me the wonder, the trembling, the humility necessary to hear my calling? And if God should call us in our own deserts, weary, uncertain, perhaps long resigned to exile or anonymity, will we answer as Moses did? "Here I am," not with self-assurance, but with the openness of one who has learned to wait. There is profound dignity, too, in holy failure. Moses' life before the bush was not marked by uninterrupted triumph, but by hiddenness and self-doubt. Even the greatest of prophets is shaped by exile before being fitted for redemption. Holiness, it seems, is often fashioned in the wilderness. Let us listen once more to the heart of the message. I have seen, I have heard, I know, I am come down to deliver. If holiness is separation, it is never cold detachment. The God who radiates fire is the God who weeps for slaves, who moves to set prisoners free. The holy is suffused with compassion. All calling, finally, is rooted not in our striving, but in God's faithful love. The silent spaces in this story, too, are sacred. We are not told in detail the thoughts that passed through Moses' mind as the sheep grazed at his feet and the flame burned before his eyes. Scripture leaves room for our own trembling before the mystery. Perhaps you, too, have stood in barren places, uncertain whether the ordinary can ever become holy. Moses' story invites us, not into certainty, but into reverent attention. Some early Christian commentators found in the burning bush a presaging of Mary, the mother of Christ, her womb containing the burning fire of the divine, yet not consumed. Others have seen it as the emblem of the enduring church, persecuted yet never destroyed. Jewish sages for millennia have returned to this vision, drawing new wisdom, to inquire after the one who suffers, to let curiosity lead to encounter, to remember that no place and no one is beyond the transforming touch of holiness. The story will unfold further: plagues and Pharaoh, the crossing of the sea, tablets of stone shrouded in cloud. But here at the beginnings is the heartbeat of all sacred vocation, the encounter with the God who is. Holiness transforms the place, the person, and the purpose. And so, as we let these words of ancient scripture settle into us, what remains is wonder. Holiness is at once fearful and inviting, consuming and preserving. Divine calling is threaded not through our adequacy, but through our willingness to draw near, to listen, to leave behind the sheltering scabs of self-sufficiency. Perhaps you too have wandered long years in exile of some kind. Perhaps you too have felt the void between your past and God's future, unsure what, if anything, burns for you in the wilderness. The promise of Moses' encounter is not that we will have every answer, but that if we turn aside, if we draw near with bare feet and bared souls, we will discover, in the heart of holy fire, a voice that calls our name. Let the silence hold you for a moment. Let the sacred hush of Horeb descend upon your own wandering. There is ground that becomes holy when we notice, when we listen, when we respond. May this ancient story speak into your present journey. Ponder the holiness that draws near through fire. Consider your own calling, unworthy as it may seem, in the light of God's sufficiency and abiding presence. If this meditation has touched your heart, or if you carry insights from your own deserts and holy encounters, share your thoughts in the comments below. In the community of seekers, every question and every wonder is welcome. For more explorations of Scripture's mysteries, consider subscribing to join us as we wander through the veiled corridors of sacred history. Peace abide with you. May you have eyes to see the flaming presence in your wilderness, ears to hear the voice that calls your name, and feet unshod before the mystery of the holy. Go gently, for you too may tread on ground made holy by God's nearness.